teaches all elements of music business, including 2 classes in music in the Americas, guitar classes, a voice class, seminar in music business, survey of music business, and more. He is the co-author of 30 music textbooks and a recording producer for all the Silver Birded Music Education Series in the U.S. and Great Britain. He's the producer of the Music Education Series for McGraw-Hill Publishing. He's traveled around the world as a recording producer on recordings for Sony, CBS, Word, Provident, etc., working as a producer on Broadway and producing over 9,000, that's 9,000.
Not a lot.
9,000 songs for education and many commercial artists as well. He is a member of the Recording Academy, the Grammys, for 15 years, helping enrich the lives of all members of our creative community. He continues music writing as a professional published songwriter for both the secular and Christian marketplace, and he's a master teacher of voice and guitar, uses his gift performing for the senior citizens all over the Amarillo area several times a month. He's a board member of the Rotary Club and has sat on the board of directors of the Jan Werder Adult Daycare Center for the past 7 years. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Bledsoe.
Well, it's quite an honor to be here, back at my old alma mater. And this is where I got my start, really, in wanting to be a recording producer. I studied with one of the greatest tenors in the world, Eugene Connolly. Y'all are all too young to know that name probably. He, first of all, made his debut at La Scala Opera House before he made the Met. They had to raise the dean's pay here before they could hire him. He had no degree of any kind, but he became artist in residence here at North Texas. And I learned so much from him, not only as a singer and performer, but he inspired me. And I want to start off my presentation today just to play a couple of cuts from his CD. He recorded this in 1950 on Decca Records. That was before Pro Tools. No pitch tuning. So you're going to hear the raw recording. So if I could get somebody to help me here to start this. This is he sang the opera I Puritani.
Is it the first track?
The first track, and then we'll listen to some of the second. I Puritani has the high D flats and the high D naturals. There were very few singers back then that could hit those notes. This is with the New York Philharmonic under Eugene Ormandy. Imagine walking into his office during my lesson each week. What an inspiration. These are the two high D naturals. Now that was D flat. This was short. You can imagine what that did to a bass. I dreamed of being a tenor all my life, but he inspired me so much. And he would talk with a little nasal accent through his nose. Darrell, you got to give them what they want. He said, they don't come out to hear me sing I Puritani, they come out to hear me sing Danny Boy. He did that as an encore at all of his concerts. He sang all styles of music. And I have to admit, I was not as great as he wanted me to be, but he inspired me to be great. And if I can say anything to you today that would help you in the future, I want to inspire you to be great. On my junior recital, his comment was, you sing like a bull in a china closet. You're just breaking so many things. On my senior recital, the best compliment he ever gave me was, you still sing like a bull in a china closet, but you're not breaking quite so many things. But wow, I read a great book. It's a corporate book, has nothing to do with music, but yes it does. It's called Good to Great. The first line in that book says, good is the enemy of great. Think about that. Good is the enemy of great. We have a lot of good musicians in the world, and I'm not here to bash musicians today, but good is the enemy of great. I want to inspire you to be better than good, to be great musicians. And I'm going to tell you my story. It may sound a little braggadocious, but they say it's not bragging if you've done it. So I guess I can say, but to be good is to work hard. But to be great is to spend your entire life working beyond good. Who is your inspiration? If you don't have somebody right now, you need to find somebody. He was my inspiration. He'd walk down the hall here. The other voice teachers hated him because he had no degree and he's making more money than they were. But he would say, Darrell, by the time I was 25 years old, I'd sung in every major opera house in both the United States and in Italy. His byline, if you look him up, it says, the American that taught the Italians how to sing. And he gave me a leading role in an opera my freshman year. Wow. And I played a gorilla that couldn't sing. So, kind of typecasting, I guess. It was almost as if he had two diaphragms. His neck would swell like a toad frog when he'd go for the high notes. And you'd think, as you were listening a while ago, you'd think he wasn't going to make that high note. He never missed it as long as I was here. And he celebrated 50 years of singing at North Texas. Came back and did a recital. Okay, thank you. Well, I'm going to move pretty quickly. I was a rather rambunctious child growing up. When I was 3 years old, I climbed upon a gate that was against the wall out in the hog pen, and the iron gate fell on top of me and knocked me cross-eyed, literally. My mama used to say she was going to knock me cross-eyed, but my eye literally went over in the corner shortly after that gate fell on me. When I was in the 4th grade, I had surgery done on my eye. They straightened my eyes, and I've had 20/20 vision most of my life. And then when I was 7, I fell off a house and burst my left kidney. Now that hurt. They said you couldn't have cut it any cleaner with a knife. I almost bled to death before they found out what was wrong with me. God had a purpose, believe me. I still have one kidney. As the nurse walked in after they had examined my kidney a couple of weeks ago, she said, you know, your kidneys, and she used plural, are rather enlarged. I said, yeah, because I've only got one, but it's healthy, and I'm still here. But I did a lot of things growing up that, my mother wondered why I'm still alive. But my father was a singing school teacher. He taught shape notes. Any of you know what shape notes are? Do's like a triangle, Re's like a semicircle, Mi's like a baseball diamond, Fa's like a pennant flag, So's like a circle, and La is like a rectangle, T is shaped like an ice cream cone. That's the only one I recognize. And then Do, shaped like a baseball, like a triangle. Anyway, I learned to sing by shape notes. My dad had the belt out on the table in my early years, and he never hit me too hard, but I knew he meant business. By the time I was 10 years old, I could sight read the spots off the page in shape notes. By 15, I was going around to churches everywhere teaching people shape notes, how to read music. And I had a teacher here, Mary Kay Higginbotham from Pascagoula, Mississippi, was my freshman sight reading teacher. We used the Ottman textbook. He taught here too. The sight reading book I had got in the summertime. I learned every exercise in that book. I could sight read every one of them. But I put a little D over every do, an S over every so, and man, I could whip those things out and sing them. Now, shape notes are a little bit like Kodai. They're a visual aid. Y'all know what Kodai is. Mi, fa, so. But I got to using both of them together, and they really work. Anyway, moving on. Mary Kay asked if anybody in the room was a good sight reader. Dumb freshman, raised my hand. And she calls me up to the front, turns over about the middle of the book, sing this one. Sang it perfect. By the end of the semester, she started looking over my shoulder and she saw I'd written a D over every do, S over every so. She said, "You're cheating. Here, use my book." I sang it just as well. By then, I had figured it out. Up until then, I had really not sung classical music. I got a $50 voice scholarship at North Texas. I thought that was so cool. It was pretty big for me. But I sang "How Great Thou Art," the hymn, and got a scholarship. But I learned real quickly how to sing art songs and arias, and that's what I wanted to be. My teacher, Eugene Conley, inspired me. And then I got to tutor some students in sight reading. They were struggling. Made a little extra money on the side, make it through college. But I'm going to tell you about the good, the bad, and the ugly today. I flunked out of North Texas. That was a downer. I had way too much fun in North Texas, I'll just admit. But y'all don't go tell my daughters about this because I've kind of kept it a secret. Anyway, I flunked out. My dad put me in hard manual labor. This was my sophomore year. Man, I couldn't wait to get back in and finish that degree. That was an inspiration too. He could inspire me in ways. Hard manual labor. I married my sweetheart, Beverly. And when I met Beverly, it was love at first sound, not sight. She was beautiful, but the most beautiful voice I'd ever heard. She spent a life with me singing in the recording studio. She was a professional singer, recorded hundreds of songs together. Then we have two daughters, Amanda and Laura, and they're both professional musicians, and I taught them how to sing in the recording studio. They both actually became my session leaders before it was over with. Wow, it's all been in the family. I tell people that when I signed a contract with Beverly, we didn't believe in divorce. Murder, yes, but not divorce. Many, many fights and intense moments of fellowship in the recording studio. I got my advanced degrees, but what I loved about the studio more than anything, it was a safe place for my girls. They learned to sing. They're both violinists, and so they had those violin ears and could hear anything. I got my advanced degrees and taught 15 years, kindergarten through college level, before I ever went into the recording business. Silver Burdette Ginn. I don't know if you've used that textbook in music education classes. It's used all over the world. I became their producer. And that was really funny because, they didn't know me and I didn't know them. But they put me in the studio for an entire year's audition. And they paid me for it. Every week. I couldn't believe it. They would make me record the same song over and over and over and over again until I got it right. And we would sit for 8 hours a day listening in the studio, listening to a song. He'd play me a song that another artist had sung and another one. Now, which one of these are the best recordings? First, I couldn't tell. Did you ever wonder why God gave us one of these and two of these? I learned to listen in ways I had never learned to listen. I could tell when a guitar was out of tune. I could tell when one voice in the group was a little bit out of tune. They say, oh, you can fix it in the mix. I got a Greek word for that, baloney. You can't fix it in the mix, you fix it in the recording. And anyway, for an entire year, we would listen and listen and listen. I was so tired of that audition when I got through. Oh, I wanted the gig. Well, they were auditioning people all over the world for this spot. And how I found out about them auditioning people, I said, who does your recordings? And they wouldn't tell me. They said, we fired him this week. So I got on the phone quickly, and I had been recording my own choirs and vocal groups, and that was my audition tape that I sent up. And they somehow liked what I had done. And anyway, and then after working for them for several years and producing thousands of songs, well, I'll back up just a little bit. They called me one day after they hired me the first time, and they said, are you sitting down? And I said, no, should I be? They said, yeah, sit down. We narrowed it down to 2 people, and we'll let you know tomorrow. Well, they actually let me know right then and said, you're the one. We're going to give you 300 songs to record. Well, I died and went to heaven. I thought 300 songs give me to record. 6 months later, they called me and said, are you sitting down? I said, no, I'll sit down. I thought they were going to fire me. They said, we lied to you, but we had to know if you were the right one. We are going to give you 3,000 songs to produce over the next 6 years. Oh, my lands. I knew the work had just begun. I produced for them every style of music in the world, even a little rap. I tell my students back, I'm a white rapper. I can do rap. Then I got the chance to produce on Broadway. We did excerpts from Broadway musicals. I got to work with all the top stars on Broadway that had sung these original roles. Big River was one of them. Any of you know who Roger Miller is? He wrote Big River. He's just a country artist, but one of the greatest Broadway musicals ever. Then they were auditioning all over the world again for a producer to go to London. Boy, I wanted to go to London. I'd never been, and I thought, surely they'll take me. They know what kind of work I've done. But they said, with that Texas accent, we don't know whether you could get along with the Londoners. Hey, I got along with the Londoners. We had a lot of fun. But they flew me in, and we had a similar audition. We were in the office there of the vice president of actually CBS Records. They were partnered together with the Silver Burdette Inn. And I had never heard this comment about me. It made my pride swell just a little bit, because I had already made up my decision. You don't sign a contract right there. I'd had some good information from attorneys. By the way, if you're going to be in this business, you need to find you a good attorney. Not just a good one, a great one. I've got the best in the world in Nashville. And anyway, they said, okay, I tell you what, we think you're the one to go, but we're going to pay you the same salary. I said, no. I said, it's got to be better than that. And they said, no, that's all we can afford, because you're getting money off of royalties over here, you're getting money off of royalties over there. I said, no, I can't do it. I got up and walked out of the room. That's what my book told me to do. Walk out. And I heard a bunch of expletives. I'm not going to say what they said. You're a proven commodity. What do you want? Man, I never heard that word used in my favor. So I walked back in and I said, well, let's look at this. I'll go for the same price, but you're not going to cut my salary. And that's what they had intended to do. So anyway, it all worked out. And guess what? I didn't have to pay taxes in the U.S. or in England that year. So it really worked good. I'm telling you the good, the bad, and the ugly. I got to produce Bird's Eye Foods commercial as I was there working with the London Philharmonic. Man, I was getting gigs out the wazoo. And I'll use this term, being at the right place at the right time. Then I had a guy call me that night that I was producing and said, I'm working on a movie, can you come out tomorrow? I said, let me check my schedule. Yeah, I'll be there. I walk into the studio. There's George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, Ron Howard, Opie, and James Horner, who was a great orchestrator of movies. And I got to sit and work with these guys. I felt like I belonged. But you just never know what's going to happen. If you're doing great work other work will follow you. That's what I'm trying to say. And then I was hired away from Silver Burdette again to McGraw-Hill. By the way, the only thing people notice on my resumes today is that I work with George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. Of course, I wrote it in big letters. No, I didn't. But they respect you, it seems, when you get to work with people like that. By the way, now I worked on Broadway for 10 years. I had a female artist, and I'm not going to call names because you might know her and I might get in trouble. But she was singing just a little bit under pitch. And this was before Pro Tools. We were doing analog recordings, and I said, you're singing, it's a little pitchy. That's the term we use in Nashville. And, you know, and that's when I learned to be a psychologist. I wish I'd taken more psychology classes, because how am I going to tell her that she's singing flat and us still be friends and her still wanting to work for me? I said, okay, go back in and listen to it again, and it's going to be out there for the world to hear for the next 30 years. If you can live with it, I can. She went back in and sang it again. You'll have to be a psychologist to work with professional musicians. I lived in London in St. Peter's Square. I could walk across the park to Island Records. A lady that lived right down the block from me was Vanessa Redgrave. I don't know if you've heard that name or not, but she's out walking her dog every day. Anyway, being at the right place at the right time. I was on the faculty for Christian artists in the Rockies. They had seminars in the Rockies. I taught vocal production classes and all kinds of classes for them. By the way, that movie was Willow. Now, if you go back and check the credits, my name's not in the credits. You said, he lied to me? No, I didn't. I got a big letter on my desk. They wrote me after the fact, apologizing about not putting my name in the credits. I still got the check, but we got that all settled. I've got multiple awards in publishing, songwriting, record and CD sales, music production, television and movies. I published over 300 song arrangements in hymn books. And I don't tell too many people this. I don't even tell my students back home. I have produced over 9,000 tunes. I'm old. Y'all see that. Over 9,000 songs with over 30 million units sold over the past few years. My dad had a saying, if you ever see a turtle on a fence post, he didn't get there by himself. I didn't get here by myself, people. I've been helped professors at North Texas, and all through the years, I used to walk right in after Billy Joel had done a recording. I got to use his producer and studio engineer. And I was the boss, but I was taking notes. Believe you me, you can learn from everybody. I didn't do it all by myself. Many people helped me along the way. By the grace of God, I've been blessed. And then my last thing on my bucket list, I thought I would never see this. Years ago, a guy called me late one night, asked me to come and conduct a 250 voice choir in Carnegie Hall. Let me tell you, that was almost as good as my first record contract. I was standing there where Elvis stood, Frank Sinatra, and all of these wonderful, wonderful singers. I had tears running down my cheeks. I mean, I was pretty emotional over that. When I dropped the baton and heard that sound for the first time in Carnegie Hall, wow. Well, it takes inspiration and perspiration. A lot of hard work. Don't settle for just good. I'll leave you with a quote from Walt Disney. If you don't see it before you see it, you'll never see it. Oh, I had great dreams. I tell my students, I wrote that song, Don't Fall in Love with a Dreamer. My wife, I didn't write it. I didn't. But if I've said anything today that will inspire you, I'll tell this last story. When Walt Disney built Magic Kingdom, well, he didn't build it. He built it in his mind, but he died before Magic Kingdom opened up. They had planes flying over. They dumped water into the fountain from all of the oceans of the world. They had 120,000 marching band. I mean, on and on and on. And Lillian Disney was standing there on the platform with Derek Johnson, who's a friend of mine. He does all the live shows for Disney. And another guy was standing there and he said, oh, if Walt could have seen this. And Lillian with a big voice, oh, he did. He did see it. Dream big. I expect to see great things from you in the future. Your name will be in lights. I'll tell you a little about our university. 6 years ago, I started a new program there in sound technology, and we're now a guitar college. We have 25 guitar majors, full-time majors, and I have 35 industry majors now, full-time. We're sponsored by Belmont University. We're very fortunate that they are sponsoring my program, and we're affiliated with them. I'm now professor at Belmont and at WT. And our interns, the last thing they have to do is go to Nashville to do a 3-month internship in sound recording. They're getting to work with Grammy Award winners. They die and go to heaven. I've only had one student come back. I've graduated 7. They love Nashville. It's the place to be in recording. But anyway, I thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you. I'll ask some questions from the students. We have a few minutes. Any questions from the students? Are there any submitted comments? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. At the beginning of what you were talking about, artists and musicians inspired you. How did you find people like that? And what kind of spoke to you about them?
How did you find artists and musicians who inspired you?
Well, I was hanging out with them. We'd go out to eat late at night, and I'd quiz them, about what they're doing. I got to doing so much music in Nashville that within 5 minutes, people would know I was there, and one of them would say to me, well, why didn't you call me on your last project? I said, I don't remember you calling me. But hanging out and asking a lot of questions, reading a lot of books, this is a people business. Learning to make what makes somebody tick. My partner's 10 times as smart as I am. I keep him buried in the studio. He makes me look good. But I've learned so much from him. He's a genius. He has no degree of any kind, by the way, either. But he is doing the Miss Tennessee pageant, does all the arrangements and big award shows. But be friendly to these people. They put on their pants one leg at a time too. And if you're friends with them, you'll get to know them well. They might even invite you, like some have me, to write with them. I'm writing with a songwriting pro right now, and we think we're going to get a cut on our last song. I've been an arranger all my life. I've arranged other people's music, but now I'm learning to write and really write good songs. Did that help a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other
Others?
questions?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a favorite genre of music that you like to work in? And also, second part, a most memorable recording studio experience?
Yes, I grew up in Southern gospel music. I got to produce Hovey Lister and the Statesman Quartet. They'd been on the road 54 years. They backed Elvis. And man alive, that was fun working with them. But I learned more from him telling me all of these Elvis stories and inspiring me. You know, nobody had ever seen him without a suit and tie on since he was 16. He said, dress for success. Oh, I dress down too, believe me. I don't wear a tie and suit all the time. But that recording experience, worked in the sound kitchen, which is a big studio, 5 or 6 studios under one roof in Nashville. And I don't know how much you know about Southern gospel music. Statesman, the Blackwood Brothers, these are the old guys that started these groups years ago, but they sold millions of records. And it's kind of a genre that's not too popular anymore. But just hanging out with these guys and learning about Elvis, that was fun. I never got to see Elvis live. And he's my favorite singer, I guess, in the world. And he only won his Grammys on his gospel music. So, and I started a record label. I had a label with 10 artists on it, and had a lot of fun doing that too. But one thing just leads to another. That's the neat thing about this business. If you're right in the middle of it, don't be afraid to go somewhere and stay there a while. My interns don't get paid a cent to be in those studios, but they come out of there, they've met Garth Brooks and all these big country stars, and they're just on cloud 9. Did that?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else?
I don't know.
Okay.
What book about the industry would you recommend reading?
Oh, goodness. There's a lot of them out there. I generally don't use a textbook. I've got true life stories enough to, I'm working on writing my own right now, but I don't have time. But there's a lot of books. Just look online, you can find, about the problem with a book and the recording process, learning to mix, learning to master, learning that. I learned all of that from guys in Nashville. I sat behind taking notes, learning how to push which knobs. And now with Pro Tools, goodness gracious, I started in the dark ages. I started working with 1/4-inch tape. And I'd splice that tape, it'd be midnight, I'd be down the floor looking for, I'd cut out a piece too big out of the thing, looking down trying to find that thing, finally finding it, praising the Lord and putting it back together again. And nobody ever knew. But there's just a lot of people, there's people right here in this area. Dallas is a big recording place. Go work for free. Say, can I sit in on sessions? That's really how I got started doing that.
Last question before we wrap up?
Yes, sir.
Do you still do most of your recordings on like digital audio workstations or tape?
Mainly digital now. That's what most people want to do. I was telling my brother, by the way, this is my brother Darrell Bledsoe. He's a musical entrepreneur, believe me. He is also a motivational speaker. But anyway, we mixed our last album just on an iPad.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's the neatest thing since peanut butter. I mean, I got the big board right there in front of me, but you can do so many things now with that kind of technology. And it's getting better every day. In fact, people are going back to analog. Have you been in Barnes & Noble lately? They got these big bins of records. Again. That help a little?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you again so much. I am honored to be here.